Greetings and welcome to LGR Oddware, where we're taking a look at stuff that is odd, forgotten, and obsolete in relation to hardware and software and vaporware. Yeah. So I've covered some strange things on Oddware before, obviously, but this one takes the cake, perhaps, as being one of the most unusual, and as such, it's going to be one of the shorter Oddware episodes too, because there's really not a lot to show, but it's super fascinating nonetheless. This is Nerd Perfect Nerd Processing Vaporware, version 9.1, revision 3.14159. Haha, nerdy references with pi there. And this is actually the very first and only release, as far as I can tell. It's actually a parody on WordPerfect, in case you did not get that. Although, with the Superman nerd here, I don't know, you might be confused that it's parodying something else. It's not called Super Nerd. It's just, I don't know. I think he just slapped whatever he wanted to on here. This is something made by a guy named David Moss, going under the name Vaporsoft Incorporated. He released this in 1987, and he was a former database software engineer who was just really fed up with a lot of industry stuff. And he was based in Fallbrook, California, and decided to put together this Vaporsoft Incorporated company, software before its time. In case you're not aware, vaporware is a term that is used to describe usually stuff that's in the technology and computer industries and whatnot, of hardware or software that has, it's promised, it's talked about, it's maybe even shown off, but it never actually comes out. That's the basic gist of it, and this is sort of a parody of that, as well as just computer and nerd culture in general, circa 1987. But yeah, this was actually covered by a whole bunch of different media outlets back then, surprisingly, because it did pretty well. In fact, it sold around 50,000 copies by the end of 1988, from what I gather, maybe more than that later on. Some reporters were calling it the pet rock of the computer world, sort of a gag gift kind of thing. It doesn't really do anything, but it's there to get a laugh, I guess. Mr. Moss did actually plan to turn this Vaporsoft company into something more substantial. He was planning to parody programs like Lotus 123 with something called Ludus, and Crosstalk with something called Talk Cross. It's basic, really basic parody stuff. In fact, the torch was pretty much picked up by the company Parity Interactive, which did games like Pissed, Star Warped, and Windblows 98. And if you've seen my video on Windblows, you know that I'm not necessarily a fan of that style of humor, but let's go ahead and take a look at this because, yeah, it does come with a floppy disk and it's got some user agreements. It looks like a legitimate piece of software from back then, but when you start looking closer, that's when the joke starts to come together, supposedly. So let's go ahead and open this thing up. I almost feel bad for opening this because this is the only copy I've seen, and I've been looking for years and years and years and years. I don't even remember where I heard about it first, but the only other copy I've ever seen even a picture of is at a museum somewhere. So, but I wanted to take a look at this because, check this out. So it does have a floppy disk, 5 1/4 inch, but it doesn't actually have the floppy disk that's inside, or it's supposed to be inside. There's nothing in there. It's literally just a shell with no media at all. So that's the joke. This is literal vaporware. So it came out, sure, but there's nothing here. So obviously there's no software to actually look at. Interestingly, this does say 1988 on here. I've seen some other releases that say 1988 as well, or some news stories that say 88, so maybe there were a couple releases. Either way, this is the only one that I've actually seen, so if anybody has seen any other copies, let me know. If there were 50,000 of them out there, I would assume somebody kept one, but yeah, let's just go ahead and take a look at the rest of this, because I like this too. I've only ever seen the back of this here, where it says, purchase of this vaporware package constitutes your acceptance of the agreement on this page. If you do not agree with these terms and conditions, then that's your tough luck. This is an agreement between you, the purchaser, and Vaporsoft regarding the limited warranty and license of the enclosed vaporware. Blah, 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 blah. All this kind of stuff. I love this coverage, though, right here. We warrant to you that the magnetic media of the disc is entirely non-existent, and the disc jacket has been permeated through a proprietary osmotic process with raw brain cells. The program, which must be translated via reverse osmotic drive, available fourth quarter this year, is excluded from this warranty, as certain brain cells may be beyond recovery after contact with computing equipment. This is just, it's absolutely lampooning the type of stuff that you would see in user agreements back then and today. I mean, honestly, this kind of parody still holds up as far as I'm concerned, a little more so than the crap in Wind Blows 98. All right, so inside of it, I've actually never seen this at all. All right, so we got a concept by David C. Moss. Robert A. Rennie did the illustration. The brilliance that is Vaporsoft is like 3 people, so that's awesome. So it's a work of fiction. Any resemblance to persons living or dead is their problem. Oh, that's great. Yeah, see, I'm already liking this better than some of the parody interactive things. You know what? Right there. 2nd edition, May 1988. So there were at least... Well, there's not necessarily. That could be part of the parody too, which I think is great. Honestly, I have no idea if any of this is, like, real. There's a little warning there that might damage your drive if you put the non-existent floppy disk inside of your disk drive. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is really the content of it. It's not software, right? But hopefully you can maybe pause the video here and there and read some of this because, yeah, I think this is pretty great. I haven't read any of it, but I think that the idea of it's great. Like, the fact that somebody would come out with literal vaporware. And it does bring up some interesting questions, right? Because vaporware is something that is... I mean, the whole idea of it is that it was never released. And so the fact that this is a physical thing that was actually released and sold in stores kind of makes it no longer vaporware, right? So is it actually? I don't know. These are some kind of neat illustrations, though. I like them. Peter Norton, or Peter Nerdden. Alright, this is getting into some of the ground of, like, the parody interactive Wind Blows 98 stuff, where they just make fun of nerds for being nerds, which I'm not on board with, just because I think it's weak. It's just a very cheap, low-blow kind of humor. You know, making jokes about Star Trek and whatnot, I guess. I don't know. Oh, here we go. These at least look kind of interesting. ASCII, acronym for Automatic System Corrupted by Incoming Information. Backspace, the part on your back you can't scratch by yourself. Nice. Oh, BOD, short for body. We at Vaporsoft Incorporated frown on the use of our product for writing pornography, and the spelling checker doesn't know any of those words anyway. Yep. What you got is what you get instead of WYSIWYG. Haha. And there's a questionnaire. Oh, great. Banana Inspector, Protozoa, all these possible occupations here that you can apply yourself to be. Please indicate sex. Male, female, yes, no. Well, that's quite pertinent. And, wow. How did I hear about Nerd Perfect? I wouldn't be able to answer that. I really don't remember. I think that I might have seen it on, like, Computer Chronicles or something. I just don't recall. And wow, the full 18 by 24 full color poster suitable for framing of the front cover of Nerd Perfect. Now, if anybody actually bought that, they would be heroes forever in my mind. Well, that's Nerd Perfect. I mean, really, there's not a lot to see here, because this is what got me the most interested in it, though. Not even necessarily the humor in there, which a lot of that seems to be pretty amusing, but I mean, it's a floppy disk without the disk inside. That's great. Like, I don't know why I think it's great, but it is to me. So there we go. That's this quick episode of Oddware. I hope y'all enjoyed seeing this bit of oddness from my collection. And if you enjoyed this episode of LGR Oddware, I've got some others, as well as other kinds of videos here on this channel, with new videos every Monday and Friday. So click these or subscribe or whatever you'd like to do. And as always, thank you very much for watching.